And Qualslitzton, Squelton, Yultis, Willie Seymour. As a child, I remember my family was always very, very active. Always finding something to do. Digging clams, selling clams. Like I said earlier, set our nets. My grandfather would pack it up to the farms and sell it. If we didn't get much, we'd pack it up to the farms. Later in the day, he'd get home. One of the farmers would bring him home. He's got a sack of potatoes, sometimes onions, carrots, stuff that we would use. Sometimes meat. Some of them would just happen to butcher a pig, and we would have pork chops, or bacon, or beef. And I know there was a time when cascara bark become very popular to buyers. I guess doctors discovered that it was medicine. Medicine our people used for hundreds of years for lung problems, for TB, for intestinal concerns. We would go up in the kind of rocky areas above, behind the reserve here, and peel the bark. They would do that, and along this rock here, lay it all out and dry it. They bought it when it was dried. I don't know what my grandfather got for it, but he got money for it. And also acorns. I remember right here, my grandfather was looking at this tree, a fir tree, and it was loaded with acorns. He says, we'll drop that tree and we'll cut it up into wood as well, so we can make use of it, but we'll make money on acorns. So they dropped that tree. So tree fell, and my uncle dropped the tree, Uncle Francis, and his wife Marge, my grandfather and I were picking. All of a sudden we heard the clanging from our house. Oh, lunch is ready. My grandfather said, we got to go for lunch. So, drop everything we're doing, we walk that way. We're sitting there having lunch. It was dried salmon eggs and potatoes. Real delicacy. And then my uncle says, they called me Windy them days. They called me Windy. The reason I got called Windy is because my late Uncle Jimmy, when I was born, my mom named me Willie after my uncle. He got murdered in Vancouver that fall, 6 or 8 months earlier. So when Jimmy got here, he asked my mom, what did you name my nephew? I named him after our brother, Willie. And he cried. I could never name my brother. I'll call him Windy, so that I grew up with that name. Anyway, Windy said, go to where we're picking acorns, where we felled that tree. Had a gallon of Kool-Aid. Anyway, he says, don't drink any either. Get it back here and we'll all share. And I come running. I might have been 6 years old or 7 years old, I don't know. I got down here anyway, and I grabbed that jug and I started walking back. looking around. Nobody going to know if I was going to have a drink. So I took a drink. I was still having a drink and I got stung. There was a bee in there. I got stung on the lip. I go running back crying. It's all stop it. My grandfather says, what happened? I got stung by a bee. Uncle Francis says, I told you don't take a drink. And I did. That bee told on me. I remember it was $3 a potato sack for acorns. That's what my grandfather was getting. And about the same for a sack of oysters. We'd go down the beach, pick oysters. Winter time though. And we'd pack. My uncle would put the sack on my shoulders and I would walk with it. I couldn't pick it up, it wasn't strong enough, but I could carry it. And we're getting sometimes 100 sacks a night. It was just loaded on here, all around, especially in that bay, the other side. About a foot of clams, that's how deep it was. All big clams. I mean, oysters rather. Yeah, and we'd pick oysters. Sometimes they bring the oyster buyer bring a cow. We run with wheelbarrows loaded on. He would sit there and tally how many wheelbarrows. I don't know how much they were paying my grandfather, but my grandfather was handled the money. When my uncle needed money, he just counted it out and gave it to him. That's how it was for our family. My recollection of some real happy days. But I can never forget when I got stung in the mouth. Right on my lip here. My face was all swollen up. My uncle looked at me and he just started laughing. I told you, I know, Uncle. Puffed up face. One time, we were sitting up there where we used to sit, watching this eagle flying around in circles out there. Pretty soon that eagle dove in the water. Come up and it had a salmon. And started flying, it was flying this way. My grandfather grabbed a stick and he started running on the beach and he started screaming. Ah! That eagle got so far over here somewhere and dropped that salmon. That was our supper. Yeah. And Greg's dad came down here and he built a couple of houses for us. He lived in that house. And then when he left, his Uncle Thomas came down, finished off those houses. Yeah, he just framed it, and then Thomas Seward came down and finished off Uncle Ed's house. Yeah, I remember those days. It was just yay high, but I remember. And I'd hear the eagle now. He's laughing at me. He remembers my story.